Gold up as Israel attacks Iran. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ainslie Insights, brought to you by Ainslie Bullion, Ainslie Crypto, and the Gold and Silver Standard, as the Ainslie Group celebrates 50 years. Today, welcome back Sam, who's been looking into some new regional conflict that has been pushing this gold price higher into this new trading session. How are you going today, Sam?
Good, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's very interesting this morning. We're seeing a bit of upward action. We sort of were a bit worried that gold was sort of rolling over a little bit there. I think to start off today, much of the data recently has really been quite bad for gold, and that's according to your article today. Does that bring hopes of a rate cut sooner? What's going on?
Well, it doesn't look like that has affected the hope of rate cuts coming sooner. It still looks like they're kind of pricing in around mid-year rate cuts still. But I see what you're saying about gold. It was kind of on this rising trend line on the daily chart, and then it fell through the bottom. So it looked like it was going to have a much bigger fall, but we've seen that halt, which is a good thing if you own gold.
And I mean, a lot of our viewers will be in that situation, and we certainly would have been looking through that little pullback and saying that you needed to hold. But you noted that gold has had really quite a strong recovery that is quite possibly due to this escalation in the Middle East. Can you maybe give us a little bit more background around that for us?
Yes, well, it's what happened, according to the New York Times, is Israel conducted strikes on natural gas pipelines inside of Iran. So that's a pretty dramatic escalation, as a lot of people were speculating that it would be, the United States that might attack Iran directly,
Mm.
because some of the advisors, both in the Democrat and Republican side of the aisle, were calling for Biden to be stronger and attack, Iran directly, because they're the ones telling the Houthis what to do. Whether that's true or not, there's been a lot of pressure for the U.S. to make the big first step. Now, what we see is Israel, according to this news at least, has already taken this big step and started to blow up critical infrastructure. And this hasn't completely cut off, Iran from natural gas, but it's cut off millions of people from the gas used for things like heating and cooking. So it is a show of force, and it's a show of force that Israel is willing to attack directly. Now, I guess the scary part about this is if they do get into a direct conflict, that means the U.S. will have to back them up because they're allies. So that's one of the major implications that goes along with that.
So do you see this, and I mean, you've been talking about this for quite a while. Do you see this as potentially a bit of a proxy war that's fought there, where potentially the US uses Israel to launch that? Like you said, it's a direct attack, and it impacts a lot of people, but it's not the same as sort of going in and directly bombing or boots on the ground type of scenario. So is this how the game's played? Is this a softer response to see what happens next? How do you see that side of it?
Well, look, if this wasn't really too much of a show of force in Israel saying, look what we can do, because it's pretty obvious that Israel can do all sorts of
Mm.
things. I mean, they have a huge amount of nukes. They have, they have the capacity to do much, much worse than that. So in this case, as far as what I can see, it looks almost like a provocation. So
Mm.
it looks like, prodding at Iran to maybe even do something further, or ask for a response, or even just test the waters. Who knows? It's really hard to say. Just going off one New York Times article, but the severity of this is quite large. So if a large publication like that published that Israel attacked two pipelines, there isn't really a reason for them to publish that, I guess, falsely,
Yes.
because it can only lead to, I mean, the kind of news you'd want to publish falsely is something like saying Iran attacked us, not,
No,
not
yeah, that's right.
we attacked Iran. So yeah, very confusing what strategy is going on, but it looks like maybe poking the bear a little bit. Who knows?
And I find that quite scary myself, to think that these lines get tested, that's where something goes wrong and it does escalate
Mhm.
quite rapidly. Do you have any signs of things that you're looking at that global conflicts potentially happening now could escalate further? I know we've got, right around the world, we've got various situations that seem to be doing a very similar thing where it's testing the waters, seeing how much can be gotten away with, or how much enemies or allies will accept in that scenario. Have you got sort of other areas that you're looking at?
This is kind of um, this is kind of, I guess I could just say, interesting because there's so many conflicts going off at once. There's Russia and Ukraine still happening, which everyone's focused on, Israel and Hamas now, but that conflict in Russia, Ukraine hasn't ended. Zelensky's been begging for support. He's been begging for
Mm,
more money, saying that they're going to potentially lose if they don't get more funding. Then you have Israel going after Iran directly. That's a huge risk, in my opinion. And then at the same time, you have the third flashpoint, or third potential flashpoint, is China. Now, what China's been doing is they've been moving their money out of banks, which can be targets of Western sanctions. So they're trying to kind of bulletproof their money against Western sanctions, and they're trying to pull away from the United States and pull away from the hands of Western powers that can put sanctions on them. Now, is that just getting ready for a potential Trump victory, where Trump has said he'll smash China immediately with tariffs, on day one?
mm.
Are they just trying to get their ducks in a row to avoid something like this, or are they preparing for something bigger, which some in the MSM are talking about going after Taiwan in the next year and trying to take Taiwan? So it's hard to say.
Well, and you would expect, like, the prudent move to take if you were Russia in that scenario would be, or sorry, China in that scenario would be to listen to what had happened in the Russian scenario, wouldn't it? That you would go, well, the sanctions will be probably around the movement of money, so it would be the wise move to make, wouldn't it, from China's perspective?
Yes, and China and Russia issued some joint statement before the invasion of Ukraine about how essentially they will be taking Ukraine and Taiwan. It was a pretty overt statement
Hmm.
released from the Chinese government, which wasn't really focused on by by the Western media. So yeah, I mean, there are those flashpoints in the world of, because it's up to the imagination really at this point. In the world of imagination, there's a new movie coming out that everyone's been looking forward to, a new Marvel movie, which is typically the big movie of the season, and it's a Wolverine and a Deadpool movie, and it just came out over the weekend. Guess where that takes place? Well, it takes place during a World War III. So
Right.
if anyone out there's a fan of predictive programming, you can chew on that for a while.
Give us a little bit of insight into what we could come to expect. Maybe not quite the superhero razzle dazzle to solve it, though. We'll have to see
Yeah.
how that unfolds. Well, thank you. You've been right on top of that, Sam, the whole time, really keeping us up to date. So we look forward to you continuing to do that, and really keeping us focused on what's going on there, because it's really quite important. So thank you for that today.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thanks everyone for watching. We'll chat again soon.